NFL begins on Wednesday, but before that, teams get a 52-hour legal tampering period beginning at noon on Monday to begin negotiations with agents of unrestricted free agents. So why don't we have a little bit of fun and play a game of bold predictions for free agency with a man whose middle name might be bold. CBS Sports NFL analyst Emory Hunt. Emory, first of all, love the quarter zip, and I know you've been in the lab concocting 5 bold additions that will make fans of these teams clamor for Emory Hunt to be their next GM. Let's start with what you've got cooked up for the Vikings.
Well, Sudu, if we're talking about the Minnesota Vikings, you start at the quarterback position, and I know everyone is focused on Kyler Murray, which would make a lot of sense, but how about Anthony Richardson? If we go back in time, there's a clip of Kevin O'Connell speaking with Anthony Richardson post-game, giving him some words of encouragement. That tells me that he was a big fan of Richardson in the draft process. So now's an opportunity for him to grab Anthony Richardson, maybe have a competition if he's 100% healthy, have that competition with J.J. McCarthy, and now you have a quarterback that will remind a lot of folks in Minnesota of Dante Culpepper, explosive, dynamic runner, legitimate light shotgun arm strength to go end zone to end zone, and a guy that's still young and improving and has a little bit more of a ceiling than does J.J. McCarthy. It also protects you from J.J. McCarthy in case he just can't get it done like he hasn't gotten it done the last 2 seasons. So I like this for Minnesota. I like it for Anthony Richardson. I like it for everyone involved. On top of that, when you have an explosive quarterback that opens up your run game, why not add an explosive tailback in Kenneth Walker? This is a position of need, in my opinion, for Minnesota. We know they no longer have Aaron Jones, so why not go and get Kenneth Walker, pair him with an athletic, mobile quarterback in Anthony Richardson with a very good offensive line, explosive playmakers on the perimeter. This could be the #1 offense in the NFL, let alone the NFC, with those 2 acquisitions.
You're hurting my heart, man. I'm a Giants fan. I was hoping you'd say Kenneth Walker to the Giants. Come on, Emory. That's come on, man.
Hey, I can't do that, man, because the Giants got 2 good backs already. They got Cam Scatterbo, and they also have the young tailback that they were able to grab in from Purdue that helped them out last year. So I feel like Tyrone Tracy. So for me, it's just those 2 backs. To me, that would be more of a nice to have and not a need to have.
I say the more the merrier. But look, let's talk about the Cleveland Browns. I know you don't want them to get a quarterback because your guy Shador is there, but they need help in a lot of spots, including tight end. David Njoku is now out. But you're not just stopping at tight end for them.
First of all, that's Pro Bowl quarterback.
I'm sorry. That's my bad. That's my bad.
But all seriousness, when you look at this offense, they're trying to get better on that side of the ball. So Isaiah Likely, with the familiarity with Todd Monken, makes a ton of sense for them to add another tight end that wants to be the guy, but also can work well with another very good tight end, a young prospect in Harold Fannin Jr. So you give Shador 2 good tight end options that can control the middle of the field, that can do a lot of great things after the catch. But we're not done here working on this offense. You saw them bring in Titus Howard, which now helps out them along the offensive line, whether that's at right tackle or right guard. But why not go and make a trade with that 2nd-round pick for A.J. Brown? I think you go and get A.J. Brown. You give the Browns a bona fide #1. And there's some familiarity with the NFC East trading with the AFC North. We saw George Pickens go down to the Dallas Cowboys. Saw Odell Beckham go from the Giants to the Browns. Why not bring A.J. Brown from Philly over to Cleveland and have the bona fide #1? Now it makes Jerry Jeudy at 1B, and now you can have that rotating 3rd receiver, whether that's Isaiah Bonds, Cedric Tillman. You have some explosive weapons right there, and now you can take those 2 first-round draft picks and focus on the offensive line or best player available. I think this is a great way for the Browns to get right back into relevancy in 2026.
Emory, 2 names at QB this offseason with rising stock and falling stock. It's Kyler Murray, obviously released by the Cardinals, looking for a new home. Meanwhile, Malik Willis is a hot name in the QB market, and you've got landing spots for both of those guys.
Yeah, they're both going to land on the East Coast. They're both going to land in the AFC East, same division, and we get a new quarterback duel between the Jets and also the Dolphins. Kyler Murray going to New York. You got to do big in New York, and I feel like a guy like Kyler Murray, with the Cardinals paying the predominantly most of his salary, makes sense for the Jets who have a lot of money to spend. But when you look at this fit for Kyler Murray, you have a 3-headed monster in the backfield, something that he hadn't had, in my opinion, in his entire NFL career. There are explosive backs in this backfield. Breece Hall being #1. They franchise him. Braylon Allen is coming back off injury. Isaiah Davis, the young kid out of South Dakota State, explosive tailbacks. Very good wide receivers. You have Garrett Wilson. A.D. Mitchell is looking to be improving this year as well, and I like the tight end group that they was able to collect with Mason Taylor being the draft pick they had last season, behind a very good offensive line. And we know the defense will be improved a year or two in what Aaron Glenn wants to do out there. So I think this is a better fit for Kyler Murray. Now for Miami, Malik Willis going down there, and you know what he brings to the table. I love what he was able to do the last preseason in Tennessee before getting traded to the Green Bay Packers, and we saw what that looked like for him when he was called upon to step in for an injured Jordan Love the last 2 seasons. He's played really well in those stints, so he's trending in the right direction. He is also an explosive playmaker. You had him with Devon Achane, Jalen Waddle. Man, this offense may be one of the more explosive ones in the AFC. Adding a Malik Willis that's looking to continue that familiarity with Jeff Hafley, who's now the head coach down there in Miami, coming from Green Bay. So I think this makes a lot of sense for both teams. I would like to see both quarterbacks end up in those 2 spots.
Emery, obviously the Las Vegas Raiders hold the top pick in the draft, expected to select former Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza. They also trade Max Crosby to Baltimore for 2 first-round picks, including the 14th pick in this year's draft. But you also think they're going to be making some splashes in free agency.
Raiders got all that casino money out there. They have a ton of free agent cap space. So let's get cooking for the Raiders, right? First, you draft Fernando Mendoza, and they let go Geno Smith, right? So that tells me, hey, they're going to start the season with Fernando Mendoza. And the biggest issue for him is what does he do versus pressure and muddy pockets? He doesn't perform well. So how about we fix the offensive line with all this cap space that we got, and we're going to go ahead and get Tyler Linderbaum, the center from Baltimore, who's the #1 center in free agency. I'm surprised this is even a conversation that he's out of Baltimore, but the Raiders can throw the bag at him, grab him. Also grab Elijah Vera Tucker from the New York Jets. Again, this is a guy that has to stay healthy, but when he's out there, he's a Pro Bowl type guard. And Zion Johnson from the Los Angeles Chargers, another Pro Bowl type guard that has gotten better over the course of his career. So like I've said before, a lot of people make fun about when I say this, but it's so true. We've been poisoned and bamboozled about big tackle propaganda that you need a left tackle, you need a right tackle. Really, offense starts up front on the interior. Guard, center, guard. I just improved that for the Raiders. Colton Miller is still out there at left tackle. We'll figure out the right tackle with one of those 2 picks that we have. And with all this money we still have room to go and sign a replacement for Max Crosby in a young, improving, healthy Jalen Phillips, who stood out last year when he was able to step in for the Philadelphia Eagles and play really well after being traded from Miami. So for me, that's how you fix the Raiders right away, and the Raiders will now be relevant thanks to GM Emory Hunt.
Yeah, I'm a part of that big tackle propaganda machine, so I feel called out right now. But let's talk about the resurgence of guys like Sam Darnold and even Daniel Jones last season before he was hurt. There are some who believe if given an opportunity in the right system, Zach Wilson could be the next in that crop of former so-called busts who can revive their careers. What's your bold prediction for Wilson?
Well, let's follow the tea leaves. First of all, how about we give Zach Wilson credit? Because no one's talking about how good he looked when he went to Denver in the preseason, how good he looked in Miami in the preseason, and when he was called upon to play a little bit with the Dolphins. So he has gotten better since leaving New York. That's following the Sam Darnold train, right? And when you look at who left Miami and now is with the Los Angeles Rams, or he's in Los Angeles, he's with the Chargers, but same thing, same yellow and blue, right? But I will have Zach Wilson going to the Rams instead of going to the Chargers. I have him going to the Rams. The reason being, we know Stafford just won an MVP. He can't play forever. Yes, they have Stetson Bennett. Jimmy Garoppolo, you still don't know what they're going to do with him, re-sign him, or he's going to go somewhere else. But Zach Wilson is still young enough to where he has a lot of runway left in his career. And again, basing on what we saw in Denver and in Miami, he is trending in the right direction. I think he would flourish in this Sean McVay system, in a situation where he has weapons around him. He's a good athlete. You could put him out on the move. He fits this offense to a T. So I like the fact that he can go out west, get back to his West Coast roots, and I think this is a situation where we'll see the best of Zach Wilson. Again, he was a good prospect coming out of BYU. Unfortunate, he went to New York Jets, didn't really have the sustained success, but I've seen enough in Denver and in Miami to trust that he's going to do fine out there in LA.
And we always get the best from Emory Hunt, so it's always a pleasure, my guy. Take care. You see some notable dates for the NFL. Of course, that negotiation period, the legal tampering opening on Monday. The league year officially opens on Wednesday, where free agents can sign. The owners will meet at the end of March. And, of course, the